These pictures are from a time when Worksop and the country went through massive change. From the Depression of the 30s to World War II and on to the 50s, a period of reconstruction after the war and the clearance of old Victorian housing. We open with 3 shots of Westgate from 1932. The first is the front of Duck Row, which was next to the Shire Oaks Inn. The second shows the back along with the end wall of the pub. The third is a row of cottages on the site of what is now Shipsides Gardens. All these buildings were demolished shortly after the pictures were taken. Abbey Street in 1956. The door nearest the camera was the famous Abbey Street Cobbler, owned by Mr. Derek Rhodes for the greater period of our time frame. The tall building next door was Goodliffe's Bakery. Exit the end of Abbey Street and you're opposite the gatehouse, and this 1940 shot shows horsepower was still being used for deliveries, as this Brook Bond tea cart outside Dakin's store shows. Higher up Potter Street and all the buildings on the right, down to and including the white one, were demolished in 1977 to make room for the Queen's Building. 2 shots of the very top of Potter Street, the first taken from outside the French Horn looking west, the second looking east. This row of character buildings were pulled down in 1960 and replaced with Coptal House. In the north of the town on Raymouth Lane in 1952, and a newly finished Bairnsware factory which opened in 1953, employing over 1,000 workers. The factory closed in 2000. The 9-acre site is now a housing estate. On the west of town stood Dukery's flour mill. This had been Beard's mill in the past, and this picture from 1944 has the staff and vehicles all lined up for a promo photo. The mill was on the site of the roundabout next to the Millhouse pub. Back into the centre of town and the Art Deco library on Memorial Avenue. This picture from the early 40s, a mere 15 years after the street was opened. On Bridge Place in 1939, this is Cheatham's Bakers. During their operations in Worksop, they had shops on Bridge Place, Bridge Street and Wrighton Street. This site is now occupied by Boys. Victoria Square in 1932, and on the left the Palace Theatre, built in 1914. It was renamed the Savoy in 1940 and finally closed its doors at the end of our period in January 1960. Still on Victoria Square in 1945, we see the Savoy and Herbert Smith's Beehive stores in the background. In the foreground, the underground toilets, which were filled in around 1963-64. Looking the other way on the square, on a sunny day in 1947, and a very smart-looking King's Head Hotel, which had been built prior to 1879. Just off Victoria Square on Eastgate in 1954, the Co-op department store, with its fine frontage, sadly demolished in 1986. Another fine-looking building demolished in 1962 is the Worksop and Retford Brewery Company on Prizewell Road. This site is now occupied by the Cebiche Warehouse. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, then now's a great time to do it. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss a thing.